This week on In the Field, I am back in La Jolla for a lovely sunset shoot. Hi everyone, my name is Scott Davenport. Welcome back to In the Field. And this week, I'm back to one of my favorite places in San Diego, Windansea Beach in La Jolla. It's a stretch of coast I just can't get enough of. It'd been a couple of months since I'd gone down to shoot, and I took the opportunity to meet up with two of my friends, Joe and Steve. They met me out there. We had surprisingly good conditions. The weather didn't look like it was going to cooperate. It was inland, it was completely clear, and it was very overcast at the ocean. But as luck would have it, we got a little bit of a break in the clouds, a little bit of texture in the sky, and some nice color. So it worked out really, really nicely. Let me show you La Jolla on the maps and then some footage from the shoot. So here is San Diego downtown, and to the north is La Jolla, and Windansea Beach is tucked right in this area here. Just blinked away, there we go. And this is this spot right here, the corner of Bonaire and Neptune, if you're ever in San Diego. It's a good place to start your visit. There's a little bit of a parking lot, which is usually full, but the side streets have plenty of parking. And there's just lots of nice, fissures and rock formations in here. Switch to the 3D mode. There's even this tiki hut. This is a very popular spot for photographers, surfers, beach lovers. It's a whole nice collection of people. And so the three of us met up and we walked up and along these various ridges of rock. Did some shooting from this area here, and I went a little farther north to this spot right here. Now the sun, if I rotate this way and just zoom out a little bit, the sun was setting off to the northwest, and I had perched myself more or less up on this ridge here and was using these rocks as my foreground elements. This small one mid-ground here, and the waves were crashing over all of this, making some nice waterfalls.
It's a very high tide north end of Windansea Beach in La Jolla. Some nice action in the sky now. The surf swirling around these rocks. Everything is just falling into place nicely. I'm set up here, kind of overlooking this. I'll show you right from the camera's snap of the compositions here. And I'm really just taking several different frames, waiting for the water to spill over the various rocks, thinking about post-production and blending some things together, but otherwise just enjoying a really, really lovely evening. I've been trying a few different compositions. Oh, nice waves here. Let's grab that while we're talking. Beautiful spill. Anyway, as I was saying, I've been trying a few compositions here. The sun is nearly going down. It's a little hard to make out on the video here. Let me see if I can lower the exposure a little bit. You can kind of see that in the background there, you got a bit of the God rays, as they're called, going on. And I'm shooting a lot wider than I can fit into the iPhone video camera. But yeah, the sky's got some nice blues and subtle orange tones to it. So this should turn out to be a very, very, very nice shot.
So let me show you just some of the raw images that I took that I'm going to consider processing. I've already pre-filtered a lot of things. I must have taken, I'm going to guess, between 60 to 80 shots, and I've whittled it down to, let's see, 12 here, 14. And let's take a look at some of the shots that I like and some of the shots that I'm probably just going to dismiss. So I started up at the northern end of the beach. I'll turn that toolbar off so we can see a little more here. And I kind of focused on these three rocks. This was just a foreground anchor, and this rock here on the left and this one here on the right is where a lot of the splashing and the waves were happening. And so you can see as I scroll through, the surf was really strong. I mean, these are 3 to 4 foot waves, which is not as usual in San Diego, and it was even larger waves earlier in the evening. But the surf's coming all the way up in here, all the way into these crevices. You're getting nice spills over the rocks here. I was shooting with a polarizer, and I don't think I mentioned that in the video. And really not so much to use it as a polarizer, but to slow down the shutter and get some of these nice streaks here. Here we go. This one's not too bad. This one I really like, and you can see I've done some basic processing on this already in Lightroom to brighten things up. But I like this amount of surf. It's covering a good amount of the foreground, giving some action here. And then there are some others that have other elements that I will probably blend in, such as this waterfall here and this other waterfall here. Those are nice. This one's pretty cool in and of itself, just all by itself. Again, I've done some level of processing, and this is where the color started to come into the sky. I've blown out highlights here, but other shots, we had some good God rays happening there. Here's just a few others I haven't even done any work on, but you can see down in this section here, you've got some nice streaks here. The surfers are still hanging out there as well. Incidentally, I just noticed that these corners here, I notice that happens when I'm all the way at 16 millimeter, wide as possible on the Sony. I get this artificial vignetting. Thankfully, the lens corrections fix that right up in Lightroom. There's a few remaining shots there, but there's a couple in here that I'm going to be happy with once I've gotten through the full processing. So an interesting thing about this section of beach, and it was really became very evident when you go and shoot with other photographers, is there's so many different ways you can look at a scene. I chose to move a little farther north and get closer to a couple of the rocks and focus primarily on some of these makeshift waterfalls that were happening over these larger rocks as the surf was coming in. Whereas Joe and Steve, I've seen some of the photos they did from the shoot, and they got these really nice foreground, midground, background shots. Rocks and beach in the foreground, good solid waves in the midground, and we had a little bit of the God rays, as they're called, in the sky as the sun went down, and it's just interesting to see that when you have different people looking at the same scene. I mean, it's the same beach, it's the same rocks, but you come away with so many different stories. I guess really that is the tip of the week, is getting out and shooting with other people. I'm sure I've said that before on In the Field, and this outing certainly reminded me that it is true. It is a great thing to do, in addition to just being able to meet someone, catch up. I hadn't seen either of them in several months. Talk a little shop, talk a little gear, talk a little about the scene, whatever else is going on in life. And it made it, the experience very enjoyable. So that's it for this week in the field. Hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe got a tip or two that you can use on your next outing, whether it be to the beach or to the mountains or anywhere that you like to shoot landscapes or whatever genre of photography you're into. In the meantime, I would love to hear from you. If you have questions, please contact me through my website. Ask anything photography related. Generally, I have at least an opinion, if not an answer for you. I do my very best to respond to each and every message or comment that comes in. I want this to be a two-way conversation. And I've said before, it helps me become a better photographer. It makes me think more about why do I do certain things or why do I not do certain things. So your questions help me. Hopefully my answers can help you, and that's what this is all about. So until next time, thanks very much. My name's Scott Davenport.